Bridget was barely holding it together when the emergency call came in. The was already chaotic. The night long and merciless. But when she saw Luna being wheeled in, pale and doubled over in pain, everything else blurred. The young woman was barely conscious, her breathing shallow, hands clenching her stomach. Severe abdominal pain, onset 2 hours ago, the nurse reported, trying to catch up to the gurney. She was found in the Forrester guest house. No trauma. Vitals are unstable. Bridget snapped into focus. Tests were ordered, labs drawn, and within minutes, Luna was in radiology for an ultrasound. Everyone suspected a pregnancy complication. The whispers had been everywhere. Luna and Bill Spencer. The rumors of a baby. The tension at the last Forrester family dinner. But when the images came up on the screen, Bridget froze. There was no pregnancy. No fetus. Instead, black pools of fluid swirled ominously where there shouldn't be any. Free fluid in the abdomen. And then, the mass. A large, irregular tumor pressing against the liver. Bridget stared at the screen, dread flooding her veins. She'd seen this before. Too many times. The pain wasn't from a miscarriage, it was the tumor. Possibly malignant. Possibly hemorrhaging. Possibly lethal. She returned to Luna's side, her heart hammering. The girl was awake now, barely, her eyes searching Bridget's face for answers. Is it the baby? She asked weakly. Bridget swallowed hard. Luna, you're not pregnant. But we found something else. A large mass on your liver. And there's fluid in your abdomen. We need to act quickly. Luna's face crumbled. She reached for Bridget's hand. Don't tell Bill. Please, please. He's building his future around this child. If he knows there's no baby, everything we had, it'll be gone. Just let me figure it out. Bridget hesitated. Ethically, morally, this crossed every line. But Luna was terrified, and time was slipping. Bridget gave a slow nod. First we get you stable. Then we talk. But secrets never stay secret for long in Los Angeles. Especially not at Forrester Creations. Where whispers spread faster than wildfire. Somewhere between the bloodwork and prepping Luna for a CT scan. A nurse. Young. Curious. Too fond of gossip. Overheard part of the diagnosis and ran her mouth. By morning, the hashtags were already trending. Fake pregnancy scandal, Luna lied to Bill Spencer, family betrayal, the social media storm exploded. News outlets pounced. Blogs speculated wildly. Fans dissected Luna's every recent move. From her fashion choices to how often she touched her stomach in photos. At Brooke's mansion, the breakfast table became a war zone. Brooke slammed her phone on the table. This is going viral. The Spencer name is being dragged through the mud. Katie, always protective of her family but sharper when it came to truth, folded her arms. If Luna was never pregnant, then Bill deserves to know. No matter how ugly this gets. It's better than him building a future on a lie. Brooke's eyes flared. You think this was some scheme? Luna is sick, Katie. Really sick. What if she didn't lie? What if she didn't even know? Katie didn't budge. Then we wait for facts. But if there's a cover-up, the damage to Spencer Publications, to Will, to everyone, it'll be irreparable. Meanwhile, Bill was already spiraling. The first call came from a tabloid. Then a text from Wyatt. Dad, have you seen what's going around? Call me. He stormed into the hospital an hour later, rage in every step. Bridget tried to stop him, but he pushed past. Where is she? His voice thundered. Where is Luna? She was in a curtained recovery room, IVs in both arms, pale as paper. Her eyes widened when she saw him. Bill, he didn't let her speak. You lied to me? You said you were pregnant. I changed everything for you. I was planning a future, a family, I defended you against everyone. And it was all fake? Luna's lips trembled. I didn't know. I thought, but the rest was cut off as a violent cough overtook her. And then, the blood. A horrible, red burst across her lips. She gasped, eyes wide in horror. The machines beeped frantically. Bridget burst in, pressing the call button. She's crashing. Get surgical down here now. Bill froze, watching the woman he loved convulse in pain. All his fury dissolved into helplessness. In the chaos, he found himself shoved back, forced to sign consent forms with shaking hands. The words blurred. Emergency surgery. Risk of death. Exploratory laparotomy. Possible liver resection. Everything moved too fast. Outside the OR, the Spencer family gathered. Bill, Katie, Brooke, even Liam and Steffi arriving despite past tensions. No one could pretend anymore. This wasn't a scandal. It was life or death. Bridget scrubbed in. She'd seen liver tumors before. But rarely like this. Aggressive, ruptured, bleeding into the abdominal cavity. They worked fast, suctioning blood, clamping vessels, trying to stop the hemorrhage. But Luna's body was fragile and her vitals kept dipping. The tumor was large and entangled with blood supply. Every decision was a gamble. Back in the waiting room, Bill sat in silence, blood on his shirt, staring at his hands. Brooke tried to speak, but he waved her off. She lied to protect me. She was dying, and all she cared about was my name. How the hell did I not see it? Katie sat beside him. You loved her. You trusted her. That's not blindness. That's faith. He let out a broken laugh. I thought I'd finally gotten it right. After all the mistakes, all the losses. I thought Luna was the one. The hours stretched. Updates were sparse. Bridget came out once to say they were still working. That the bleeding was worse than expected. That Luna had coded briefly, but they brought her back. Every minute felt like a lifetime. Social media didn't wait. While the family reeled, the public dissected. Theories poured in. Luna faked a pregnancy to trap Bill. Or Luna was pregnant but had a miscarriage and was too afraid to admit it. Or it was all a PR stunt for Spencer's upcoming product launch. No one knew the truth, but everyone had an opinion. At Forrester, Ridge and Eric debated whether to release a statement. If the world believes Luna manipulated Bill, it reflects on all of us, Ridge argued. She was one of our interns. We backed her. We can't be silent. Eric was more cautious. We wait until Bridget gives us the truth. We wait. By the time Bridget finally emerged from the OR, her face told the story before she even spoke. Tired, shaken, but alive. She made it, she said simply. We stopped the bleeding. We removed most of the tumor. But it's not over. We won't know until pathology comes back if it's cancer. She'll be in ICU for at least a week. Bill broke down. No bravado, no tough facade. Just a man gutted by what he nearly lost. In the days that followed, Luna hovered in a fragile limbo. Machines beeped, fluids dripped, monitors blinked like anxious eyes. Bill never left her side. He held her hand through the night, whispered apologies while she slept, replayed every conversation they'd ever had. The Spencer empire took a backseat. The man who built skyscrapers and won wars of business sat in silence beside a hospital bed, praying for a woman who had rewritten every chapter of his life. When Luna finally woke, eyes fluttering open in the pale dawn light, the first thing she whispered was, "Did the world find out?" Bill nodded. "Yeah, but I don't care. Not anymore." Her tears came freely. "I didn't mean to lie. I wanted to be enough." He leaned down, pressing his forehead to hers. "You are, with or without a baby. You are." But outside the walls of the hospital, the storm hadn't passed. Spencer Publications was under scrutiny. Investors were nervous. The media still spun the story every which way. And the pathology results were still pending. Bridget knew that the worst might still come. If the tumor was malignant, Luna's fight was only just beginning. But one thing had shifted. Bill was no longer angry. He was devoted. Unshakably, irrevocably devoted. Back at Forrester, Ridge and Steffi watched the news quietly. "You think they'll survive this?" Steffi asked. Ridge shrugged. "If they do, they're stronger than most and in the ICU, where beeping machines kept time with fragile hope. A new chapter was already being written. Not of scandal, but of survival. Not of betrayal, but of brutal, beautiful truth. Bill Spencer had built an empire on control. On knowing every variable, calculating every risk, eliminating every threat before it surfaced. But nothing prepared him for the chaos that exploded across the internet when the rumor surfaced. Luna faked her pregnancy to trap him. It was a headline tailor-made for scandal. Spencer magnate manipulated by a beautiful young woman. The media feasted. Late-night talk shows cracked jokes. His board called emergency meetings. But what stung most wasn't the public ridicule, it was the private humiliation. The betrayal. He had believed her. Had begun dreaming again. A family. A second chance. And now it looked like all of it had been a lie. So Bill did what Bill always did when cornered, he hunted the truth. Quietly, thoroughly, without mercy. He hired a private investigator, someone off the grid, no ties to press or family. "I want every detail," he ordered. "Every medical record, every conversation. I want to know who opened their mouth. And if Luna really lied to me," he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. For days, the man reported back with scraps. A nurse at University Hospital had overheard an tech mention no signs of pregnancy. The leak likely came from her. But the deeper they dug, the darker the truth became. Luna hadn't lied. There had been no con. No game. The pregnancy was never real because the diagnosis was far worse. Stage 4 liver cancer. Aggressive. Inoperable. Metastatic. Bill stared at the report in his office, his name plastered on magazine covers beside Luna's photo. Deception, heartbreak, revenge. None of them knew. None of them saw what he now saw. Not a schemer. Not a gold digger. But a young woman quietly dying, and trying to protect him from the wreckage. The shame hit him like a freight train. Every accusation he'd thrown at her. Every second he'd believed the worst. He had failed her in the most unforgivable way. He doubted her when she needed him most. Bill showed up at the hospital the next morning without a word to the press or his family. He waited outside ICU until Bridget emerged, scrubbed and exhausted. She didn't lie, he said softly. Bridget nodded, guarded. No, she didn't. Bill cleared his throat. Tell me everything. I want to know what we're up against. Bridget took a breath. It's advanced. The tumor has spread to both lobes of the liver. There's fluid in her abdomen again. We're draining it, but it's temporary. She's not strong enough for major surgery right now. Maybe not ever. Bill pressed on. Clinical trials? Europe? Japan? I'll pay. I'll charter jets. I don't care what it takes. Bridget's voice dropped. We can try. Immunotherapy. Targeted radiation. There's a trial in Geneva showing some promise. But Bill, her prognosis is poor. And even the best care might only give her months. Not years. He didn't flinch. Then we give her the best months possible. But Luna had already made up her mind. When Bill arrived at her bedside, she smiled faintly. You know now, she whispered. Her voice was paper thin, her skin paler by the day. You know I wasn't lying. Bill took her hand gently. I should have believed you. I was a coward. No, she said. You were scared. So was I. She took a breath. Bridget told me. About Europe. About the trial. But I'm not leaving. He blinked. Why not? You'd have the best doctors in the world. I don't want to die in a foreign hospital, Bill. I want to be here. With my mom. With the people I love. I don't want my last days to be about medicine. I want them to be about living. He tried to argue, but she shook her head. This is my choice. I'm not giving up. I'm just choosing how I go. That night, Bill stood on the deck of his Malibu estate. The waves crashing below. The house was cold, quiet, too big for the grief swelling inside him. And then an idea took shape, not a treatment. Not a cure, but a gift. One final miracle. A wedding. He told no one, not even Luna. He made calls to the city for beach permits. To a designer for Luna's dress. To a string quartet. To a florist to fill the sand with wild orchids. Her favorite. He coordinated with Bridget on Luna's medications to ensure she'd be strong enough for one evening. Just a few hours under the stars. A wedding without legalities. No license. No paperwork. Just vows. Just love. Just hope. The morning of the wedding, the house was buzzing with quiet activity. He had stylists on call. A custom dress steamed and waiting. Everything timed down to the second. As the sun dipped lower, the sand was transformed into something out of a dream. Guests were minimal: Brooke, Katie, Liam, Steffi, and Bridget. No press. No spectacle. Just the people who mattered. But Luna didn't come downstairs. At first, Bill thought she was resting. Then he thought she might be having a bad pain spell. But when Bridget checked her room, it was empty. Gone. No note on the bed. No shoes by the door. Just the soft swish of curtains in the ocean breeze. Then Bill saw the envelope, tucked beneath a framed photo of them together. His name in her handwriting. Bill. He opened it with shaking hands. My love, if you're reading this, it means I left before I could say goodbye the way you deserve. Not because I don't love you. But because I love you too much to let you watch me disappear piece by piece. You gave me something I never thought I'd have. A glimpse of forever. But this disease is stealing time from us. And I don't want our last memories to be of doctors and pain and helplessness. Please don't spend the rest of your life trying to fix what can't be fixed. Don't cling to me. Let me go. Live. Laugh. Love again. You once told me love means setting someone free. I'm asking you to do that now. I'll be watching the sunset somewhere tonight. And I'll be thinking of you. Always. Luna. Bill collapsed onto the sand. Still in his suit. The music played. The flowers swayed in the breeze. But the bride never came. The media didn't get the story. They assumed she ran. Another betrayal. Another Spencer scandal. But Bill knew the truth. Luna hadn't left him, she had left life. And she had done it on her terms. The rest of the season centered around the fallout, not of drama, but of grief. Bill, once the indestructible tycoon, was now a man undone. He didn't throw money at the pain. He didn't seduce his way out of the void. Instead, he visited Luna's mother. Sat in silence beside Bridget on long, aching days. He showed up at the hospital where Luna used to volunteer, donating time and money not for tax breaks or headlines, but for healing. He started a foundation, not in her name, in her spirit, quiet, fierce, brave, and he stopped hiding. When asked about her at press conferences, he didn't dodge. She wasn't my wife. She wasn't the mother of my child. But she was the woman I loved. That doesn't need a label. Katie saw it, Brooke saw it, even Ridge, who had never trusted Bill, nodded quietly once and said, You finally get it, because for once, Bill Spencer didn't need to own something to value it. He didn't need to win to understand the worth of the fight. And in the final episode of the season, he stood alone on the same beach where he had planned to marry Luna. The waves rolled in, the sun sank red into the Pacific, and in his hand he held her last letter, now creased and worn from countless readings. He smiled, a small, broken thing. Then he whispered, "I let go, Luna. But I'll never forget."